You are now tuned into Flippin' the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 137 of Flippin' the Birds. I'm Bryan Cameron, alongside Morgan Burkett, Eric Reese, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Joe Pepe. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
What's up, man? I'm good. How about you guys? How you all doing?
Still bald.
Yeah, pretty good. Well, we're starting off hot. Okay, good.
Just go right into it.
Bryan had a bad day today, I guess.
I mean, listen, how could you have a bad day, right? When you write an article the day before saying that Eagles should trade for Chauncey-Gardner Johnson, and then it comes to fruition, and it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I can't get that to happen. So you got to teach me how you did that, because like
no, time out. We can't talk about your luck.
Listen, we can't. I need that luck though for fantasy, man. You know how many teams I have right now? Like, give me some of that luck.
Yeah, don't ask Bryan for fantasy help. I'm telling you that right now. Don't ask Bryan for fantasy help.
We're gonna go over my fantasy team today, and I need to know how I did because Yahoo said B-, but then they said I'll finish at 8th in the league. I'm confused right now.
You can't listen to those things. We'll go over it, but you can never listen to those things.
All right, cool.
Also, you can't just commandeer the podcast just to get fantasy help. That's not how this works.
What you mean? Like, that's how you do it, bro. You have a platform. You get the right people on a platform, and you discuss this. It's politics.
I like it.
All right.
Eric, how you feeling over there, man?
I'm just saying, like, you can 100% trust the grades. 100%.
You won. That's what it is.
The grades have never lied to me ever. Not once. No, I'm doing great, man.
My high school grades lied to me and said I was going to be a genius. I'm clearly not that, so I don't trust these grades either.
You know what's so funny? Like, till this day, my mother brings up, you remember that teacher in high school that said so many great things about you? And I just realized, like, you're trying to make me feel bad about myself right now.
Because I don't remember them either.
It's like saying, remember how much potential you had. That's what that is.
I always think of the ones that, like, my dad's always like, oh, remember that teacher that said you were like this? And it's always bad things. I'm like, Dad, you know that person, like, probably doing drugs on the weekend or something? Like, I know what teachers do now. Like, I'm an adult. Like, they're nothing special. Like, I'm like, screw Miss Fiorentino. Like, if you're watching Miss Fiorentino, I love you. Please don't yell at me. Like,
hey, touche if she's a Flippin' the Birds fan, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot to dive in today. We did bring Joe to discuss fantasy, which we will discuss at the second half hour. But he's also an Eagles fan, so we might as well bring him in to celebrate the fact that the Eagles have put together their initial 53-man roster, and they've added a phenomenal addition in Chauncey-Gardner Johnson that a little bit feels like Malcolm Jenkins 2.0 if you've seen this guy play. I mean, he mostly played in the slot throughout his career so far. But to be on the safety on the Eagles and to be part of a versatile defense now is like, dude, like, this is legit. Like, they're actually going for something this year. How you guys feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel really good. I mean, this is a guy that when it was his draft class, countless mocks had him going to the Eagles. We felt really good about it. We felt like that was, we should already pencil it in. It just felt like a good pick. Now, granted, different defense, right? So, I am interested to see where they kind of use him in the two deep sets. Like you said, he's more of a box safety. He can play the slot, but there's some versatility there as well. Saints as well, they kind of do the box safety kind of thing. So it's going to be a different defense. But, I mean, we've talked about it time and time again that it seems like Jonathan Gannon's MO is to get these versatile, athletic defenders, and find spaces for them. And so, I mean, that's Johnson. Oh, man. I'm always going to have trouble with this name. I don't see the name, but it's so many syllables. Like, shorten it up for me. CGJ. Can I do that? Yeah, all right. And so they're going to find a way to use him. And so I'm excited for that. Again, just a guy that kind of seems to bleed green, and he'll be a great fit. And it's a great fit, early on in his career. And so I'm curious to see how he makes the transition. But athletic-wise, potential-wise, I'm excited for. And for what? For a 6th and a 5th, for a 7th? Like, you can't go wrong, man.
Exactly. And I'll still never understand trades to this day. If I try that stuff in Madden, they're like, get the hell off my table. Like, I can't do that stuff in Madden, but they pull it off all day. But I love, like you said everything about him athletically. I think my favorite thing about him, other than being able to play a little bit of the slot too, is the package. And I don't remember who put it out today, but it's just him getting in the face of players and him like causing trash talking with people and causing this like a ruckus, and then getting in that fight, even though he's just standing there kind of laughing at the guy. That's such a Philly guy. Like, we're going to get so into that. And I'm so hyped to have him with two cornerbacks who also have amazing talent on top of it. So we're finally building it. And I'm not going to say the term that Vince Young said, but, you know, it's floating out there. We're all thinking about it.
Don't you dare. Don't you
I'm
dare.
not saying it. I'm not saying it. I refuse to use those words together ever since that point, like for anybody.
Yeah, agreed. It's a good thing, good thing to live by. I don't even have dreams anymore. That's what that's my little commitment.
It's just nightmares now. That's all it is. Vince Young and freaking nightmares.
I just
now we got some other nightmares.
Oh,
darkness.
my Lord.
Darkness.
Yeah. That whole thing just fell apart quick, but I feel like we got a more talented version of that group back then. And I had someone argue with me today, and he was a Giants fan. He had 2 followers, so, like, you know how those people
those
go.
are the worst.
Those are the worst ones. But he literally said to me, he was like, oh, your team's putting all this effort in on defense and putting weapons around. They must not believe in Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, what the hell do you want the organization to do? Like, do you want him to just be with a bunch of scrubs? Like, you're supposed to get a better team. And for the price we paid, and I'm just calling him Bob because his name's way too hard. So screw Chauncey. His name is Bob on this podcast. And I'm a big fan of what we did because we're getting rid of 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. Like, who cares about that? Right. You're very rarely going to hit that. There's not an Isaiah Pacheco for every team out there. So toss them away all day, bring in the talent that has played, and he wants his money, and he's moving to a position where he can make more. So he's going to ball out, I'm hoping.
And that's the thing that I found a little bit weird about the trade, is because when the Eagles traded for AJ Brown, it was a lock. They were not going to do this trade until the extension was fully done. They didn't extend Chauncey at the episode of the trade. Now, granted, they were probably pressed against the clock, whatever the case may be, but to me, it's a little bit of an interesting to watch, where it's kind of like, okay, like, we're actually trying you out. Like, we're going to see what you can actually do before we commit to you. But damn, I love this kid's attitude. Like, I put out the GIF today of him getting into Tom Brady's face, and like, dude, like, you're 20-something years old going into the GOAT's face like that. Yeah, you belong in Philly. You belong in Midnight Green. Like, this defense has just hit a different level with Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Javon Hardy. Like, it's all guys that could be stars on a different team. If you put these guys, like one of these guys on the Browns, they're Pro Bowl players. They're getting wild contract extensions. But you have them on a wild salary right now altogether, and they're in Philly. Like, this is probably the best roster that has ever been constructed by Howie Roseman. And this is going against the Super Bowl roster. Like, the Super Bowl team was talented, but like, dude, like, this team's potential is like, Mike Irvin keeps on saying is this team, they're building a dynasty point blank.
Yeah. And if Jalen Hurts hits, we still have 2 first-round picks next year. So we're getting all these players for cheap, and that's kind of how you have to do it. It's like a 3-4 year window while the quarterback is cheap, and you just load up and you go for it then, and you kind of retool like they're doing with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City right now because he has the big contract. But it's like every 3-4 years you want to try to hit the window. We had a talented roster when we won, but I think this one is way better than what we had back then. I mean, I don't think Nick Foles-esque type runs are in Gardner Minshew, but hopefully we never need that.
It is on that comment. It does kind of feel like the Black Air Force, like defense, man. Like, there's some nasty dudes on this defense. Even from the top down, like, even talking about, I think he's a 5th round pick with GardnerJohnson. Like, dude's kind of he's just a mean dude. He loves physicality. Like, it's just from top down. This is what I mean. For years, it feels like, Bryan, we've been talking about how, like, no one's really afraid to come into Philly and play their defense. And I think, like, they're starting to get those pieces where it's like, okay, you got a second guess when you're coming across the middle to catch that drag route that fucking Bob is coming down to smack you, right? So, so I love it. And you know, one of the things that we haven't discussed yet is it really puts the pressure on Jonathan Gannon. You have those pieces now, right? So, and Howie, we talked about for years and years and years, was hesitant to go get Doug Peterson's guys, or would bring in vets and like wouldn't invest, or there seemed to be some kind of problem going on with the discussion. Now, okay, Jonathan Gannon is getting his guys, right? So that's a good development as well. But obviously now there's no excuses, so it better be a good defense.
Yeah. Do you remember that last year though, when it was like Jonathan Gannon is interviewing for like the Texans job, and we're all in the comments like, he saved my dog, he's such a good guy. Like the dude better ball out this year with the team we gave him, because we gave him everything you could possibly want, and it just seems like him and Howie want the same thing, and that was the issue with Doug and Howie, in my opinion. That they just had different philosophies about the game. But who the hell knows with Howie? Because sometimes he thinks people like JJ Arcega-Whiteside is gold. So sometimes he's a little out there.
Well, it's funny that he's wronged he's right his mistakes, right? He's gone to this point where he's actually fixed a lot of the issues. So kind of going into it, I mean, this 53-man roster, it's interesting to say the least. At safety, just to start out, you have Bob, you have Marcus Epps, you have Kayvon Wallace, and you have Reed Blankenship as your main guys. Besides CGJ, there's not too many proven guys in that group. But in the secondary, you only have 2 proven guys, and everybody behind them is young. Your defensive line, you have 3 proven guys, and everybody's young. Like, it's such a weird construction in this roster. But I'm kind of digging it because it's like, dude, like we finally got young after the Alshon Jeffrey and DeSean Jackson bullshit. Yeah. Like these guys were injured all season long. And now we have guys that are actually built for this.
Yeah, I kind of like that setup too, because you get like you said, the veteran, the star, whatever term you want to put to him, and then you kind of build up the guy behind him, Fletcher Cox to Jordan Davis, and you just roll it over. Same thing with Kelsey's and Jurgens, just roll it over. Like we're building for now and later, and I don't see many teams doing that. And I kind of like that setup. Hopefully it doesn't bite us in the ass, but I think it's a very good setup. We have pretty much everything kind of backed up at every position. The only thing we need to do now is trade Jalen Reagor, and I'll be the happiest dude on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Eric likes that one.
We'll get to receivers. We'll get to receivers because my man's out of town, unfortunately. But man, on the defense again, I think this really plays into what Jonathan Gannon wants to do. Is obviously we know him as this guy that wants to play multiple. He wants to give multiple looks. Wants to be able to adjust on the fly. And really make quarterbacks and OCs think. And so I think you just have a bunch of athletes. But the other thing that we talked about time in and time out is that he is this acclaimed developer of young talent, right? And so it makes a lot of sense to kind of have 1 or 2 vets and then essentially just let these young guys battle it out.
We're getting yelled at in the chat, guys.
Yeah,
Bob, it's Bob, damn it.
We'll go. I'll go with Chauncey just to cool out the chat and just create balance in the force right now.
We might want to hold our Bob token for another. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could get there. There's some names. I really struggle with Togai.
Which it kind of ticks me off that he didn't make it, but that's neither here nor there. Let's focus on who you guys. What are your surprise additions to the team? For the 53-man, like who do you feel like made it and that either shouldn't have made it, or are you surprised like the Eagles even went this route with this person?
I mean, I don't know if I have someone that I'm surprised made it. Maybe Wallace surprises me a little bit. I really thought he was going to end up getting cut. To me, I thought that receiver, I cannot think of his first name right now, Kane. Even though he had a lot, he had a decent amount of drops, but I just thought that he might hang around. But maybe that's again the Jalen Reagor looming above, the Zach Pascal's looming above, like people that are just talented, a little more talented, but not amazing. But I just thought he was going to make it. That kind of surprised me that he didn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know who yours is going to be, Bryan, so I won't take it.
How do you always say this? I'm very curious what you think is now.
Hold on. Can you...
Are we just talking the release players right now? Okay. Because I have one that I think was surprising to me, and it's probably not surprising to anybody else. But I thought that Rodgers being released was a little surprising. I thought he would have weaseled his way into like a very, he had a good season. Mm-hmm. So why not be like a third guy?
Mm-hmm. I do think that's a weak spot for us behind Dallas Goedert. I think that's a very weak
it's a
core.
very,
Dallas
very
Goedert goes
intriguing
down.
spot.
Yeah, go grab OJ Howard. I'm fine with that.
That'll be phenomenal.
I thought Calcaterra, for some reason, I have no issue with that name. I don't.
Yeah. How'd you nail that?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but so I think like he probably what happened is he showed enough in preseason. I mean, as a route runner, as a receiver, pretty impressive, right? The blocking side of things, the inline kind of stuff. I don't know that he's going to give you anything there, but I think what he probably did is he played well enough that they were worried about losing him if they wavered him. Young guy, and really just I think injuries held him back in college, from what I understand. And so I think that Richard Rodgers is one of those guys that you could pick up. He'll be waiting for that call, I think. But the other thing I think with having Dallas Goedert and not having Zach Ertz is Goddard's also a fantastic blocking tight end, right? Whereas you needed that extra guy that could block. And now you have Jack Stoll who can block and has upside as a receiver. And you don't have to compensate for the fact that Zach Ertz was a bit of a liability as a blocking tight end. So I think that gave them a bit more flexibility. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Richard Rodgers back on the roster before the end of the season. Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm not going with Kennedy Brooks, even though I think he should have made it. I don't think we saw enough for him to make it. I'm just being biased. But who the hell's returning? You don't have Brandon Covey back there. You don't have Devin Allen. Like, are you using Quez Watkins? Are you using Jalen Reagor, who's failed at it? You're definitely not using Greg Ward, which we won't speak about, Morgan, who's on IR and may not make the roster.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric.
I think so. Let's talk about that real quick. Is the pork off the table completely?
So speaking to Zach, all right, maybe you guys could correct this, right?
Pork?
So last week we had a bet. If Greg Ward made the 53-man roster, then Zach would buy Eric pork shoulder.
Okay.
Now, they didn't waive Greg Ward. He's on IR.
Right.
But obviously he's not the 53rd man. So
IR's on the team, baby. That's all I care about.
He's on the roster, right? Technically, he's on the roster.
Oh, I take back my tweet earlier. Pork is back on the table. All right. Yeah, all right.
Is that all you tweeted? You just tweeted pork's off the table?
Well, I mean, Greg Ward was released, pork redacted. And then, unredacted.
So, who's returning? Like, are you really going to use Quez Watkins? Like, I thought Brent Covey made perfect sense to be that guy. Devin Allen made perfect sense to be that guy. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that to me, like, special teams is weird. They have a lot of holes in special teams, and that's not Eagle like. They usually have, the weapons on special teams to make sure that they're doing their job.
Right.
So I'm a little skeptical
honestly, with this offense, just get somebody back there that could catch the damn ball and wave his hand. I don't need you to go run.
Do the Madden, right? Do the Madden.
Yeah, I do. You can't have a punt return or a kick return in that game. I was playing it for like 5 hours before this, and the words that were coming out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh my Lord, I got to get it all out now before I get on camera later."
I'm trying to think. Again, like I think Joe's is kind of right. Like, there's no real surprises, right? Like, I think there's probably a 1A, 1B where either make a lot of sense.
I think the safety group is the biggest surprise. Like Reed Blankenship, Kayvon Wallace, who we've never seen replace safety in this league, which is weird. Like, I
don't know where else you go, right? Like, Tart didn't do enough to secure a position by any means, and so I mean the fact that we got CGJ, like, that's it could have been worse. It could have been much worse. Like, you're looking back there and it's Marcus Epps and Kayvon Wallace. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that. You can't put Kayvon Wallace outside the box, bro. Like, you can't.
It's funny because you saw something coming when Anthony Harris was cut. Then when Tart was cut, Tart was cut first. Anthony Harris was cut. You're wondering, like, okay, what the hell is happening? Like, they have to be making a wild move. Mm-hmm. And I know you see Ian Rappaport put up this picture of CGJ saying that he's getting traded to Philly. Like, what's the initial reaction for? I don't want to say a regular Eagles fan because there's no such thing as a regular Eagles fan. Like, we all cover football to a different spectrum than any other fans. But I don't know, like, do you not think Super Bowl will bust as Eric is getting attacked by his dog?
Well, to be fair, I think that when like Kevin Cobb is our quarterback, so I don't really know if I'm the person to ask for that one. But like at first I have to look him up because I'm like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? And then he's the guy that got punched in the head in that one play and just stood there, and I thought it was hysterical. You start breaking down the stats in him, and he goes to the slot a little bit. And as you're reading the article, you're like, yes. And you're like, okay, he's the best safety ever. And then you got to kind of like bring yourself back to life. And, we have a good safety now. We haven't had a good safety in my eyes since Jenkins, like you said earlier.
Malcolm the GOAT.
Yeah, like we have Malcolm and we have Brian Dawkins in the Eagles' history in my eyes, and that's about it. Otherwise, we haven't really had great safeties in my eyes, so I'm excited to see what he could do here. I think he's got enough talent to be just average at worst, and I'll take that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, I think immediately my question is how he's going to look in the two deep looks that, obviously it was really common last year. Maybe that's a thing more of the past. Like I just feel like you're not taking that completely out of the playbook. So that's going to be the test. And we talk about him having experience, but he's still a young guy, right? So
24 years old. The whole team is pretty much 24 years old.
Right.
Using Kelsey.
Right, exactly. So there's going to be growing pains. It's just going to happen, right? And so, again, the Eagles kind of got fortunate with their schedule where they can allow that to happen. Now the Lions are going to, throw the ball. That's what, most likely, and so that'll be a good test week 1. But coming in this late in the offseason, adding a young piece who you're expecting to, on paper, he's your safety 1. I know Marcus Epps has taken some big steps, and everyone in the locker room seems to love him. But talent-wise, it's probably CGJ that you're expecting to be that guy. And you're expecting him to be that guy in less than 2 weeks or 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. So it's going to be a steep learning curve. But this is just going to be a fun defense to watch, man. They're going to do a lot of different things. They're going to be athletic. They're going to fly to the football. So they're going to make mistakes, but they're going to make mistakes going 100 miles per hour. And I said miles. I got you guys. Don't worry. But yeah. And so it's going to be fun to watch regardless.
So we're approaching the 8:30 mark, right? And you talk about mistakes.
Oh,
I feel like I made a mistake on Sunday night, right? And I was hyped up. I'm like, listen, we got Joe on the call. I'm gonna do the due diligence of downloading the draft pick from Fantasy Pros. I'm gonna follow this, but I screwed up. I'm in a keepers league, and for every person you keep, they take away pick. I got hyped up. I had the first pick. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing, but I didn't think about how it's supposed to work. So I kept Jalen Hurts. I ironically had AJ Brown from last year. Kept AJ. Biasly kept the Dallas Goedert as well.
Oh,
so there goes my first 3 rounds
already, my friend. You got to diversify.
There goes my first 3 rounds, right? So I don't make a pick until probably like the 5th round in this damn draft, and I end up with players that it's like,
those are all keepers. You can keep 3 in your league.
Yeah, we keep 3 in our league.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. But it's
you said screw it, ride or die, Eagles.
Yeah. Because it's like if AJ doesn't work, then Dallas has to work. Like it's one of the two. And Devonta's the biggest wild.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I'm curious how the rest of the team sounds.
All right. So
I don't hate it either, but I'm sure to know that there are the most Eagles on Brian's team every year.
Yeah. So I didn't draft Miles Sanders. I'll put that out there. This is the first time since Miles Sanders has been in the NFL that I have not drafted him.
Joe, you sound like. Sorry, go ahead. We should just preface this by Bryan finished second last and then third last in the PSN the last 2 years.
Oh, that one I wasn't even looking at. This is my main league. I wasn't paying attention.
I feel like if I'm in a league with Bryan, I'm drafting Eagles players. If I'm like on them,
and then trading,
and then trading them over. Like I feel like that's what I got to do.
They tried that in my baseball league, but with the whole Mets thing, just waving that in my head.
Baseball's way too hard. That's way too long.
It's difficult, but you know what? I'm holding out to the 3rd seed right now. I'm winning it. What is Zach saying in the chat? Oh no, I'm not drafting Sanders. Zach, you're not baiting me. But look, here's my lineup, right? So obviously Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown,
okay,
DJ Moore,
okay,
Javonte Williams,
okay,
Dallas Goedert,
1 RB.
Yeah, it's really weird, bro.
Wow. That's weird.
Chase
yeah,
Edmonds.
I love Chase Edmonds. That's my guy
good.
this year.
I was skeptical about that.
I love him this year. We can talk about it in a minute, but keep going.
Okay, Gabriel Davis,
love it.
Rashad Bateman.
Also love it.
You pulling my
No, man. Look. We'll go through those picks real quick, and then we can talk about
the upside of your team.
Yeah. Gabe Davis, like we saw it in the playoff game. We saw how he was getting more snap percentages over Emmanuel Sanders towards the end of the year. Josh Allen's coming out saying he's not a far off distance to the Stephon Diggs. He's right there with him. Like you have good potential there, and you already have AJ Brown. So he doesn't have to be your one in any type of sense. Chase Edmonds, though, like they just got rid of Sony Michel. Raheem Mostert's knees were Thanos snapped like 6 years ago. So they don't even exist anymore. Those knees are trashed and done. They paid him. I think he's the highest paid free agent that came in this year as a running back to a team was Chase Edmonds. He fits this scheme perfectly. So you have running backs that flow through that. And then you said Bateman. And as much as I love Gabe Davis, I love Bateman because he's the number one there. Hollywood Brown's gone. You have to take all those targets. They're vacated. They got to go somewhere. They can't go all to Mark Andrews. And I love Isaiah Likely, but he's a rookie tight end. They don't ever do anything, not counting Kyle Pitts because he's a freak of a man. But Rashad Bateman has talent and a giant vacant target area that's just open for the taking. They can't all go to Mark Andrews. And they're having issues at running back right now. Is J.K. Dobbins going to play? Gus Edwards on the pup. Mike Davis is a bum. You're talking about Kenyon Drake getting dropped from the Raiders, and he can't do anything but pass catch anymore. I think you actually have a pretty solid team for keeping the entire Eagles roster with it.
Damn, entirely. Let me not take my defenses then.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good defense, though, because our first four, you had to play fantasy in quarters, and that's what I tell people. You play it in quarters. Everybody tries to play for the playoffs, but you got to get there first. So play for the first 4 or 5 weeks. And the first 4 or 5 weeks, the Eagles, I think we have the Vikings is the hardest team because we have the Lions, the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Jaguars. Yeah. Like, that's a good defense. I like the Browns. I like the Niners too, but the Eagles have a lot of talent, have the ability to get a lot of sacks. And what I like to do when I chase defense is get the team that's going to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback because pressure creates turnovers creates points.
Interesting. Okay. So, all right. I'm not going to feel myself too yet.
No, you did really good.
Massive smile that started.
A little bit. I got to hide it behind the pop protector.
You did really good, man. Just let fantasy pros know that, they should give me a raise and whatever.
So to round it off, I have Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields, Elijah Moore, that's Elijah Moore, right? Elijah Moore, Lance Thomas, and Rashad White.
You got Mooney too on top of this? That's another one of my guys this year.
I feel like he has the highest ceiling I've seen so far.
He has to get hyper targeted. Who else are they going to throw it to there minus Cole Kmet? They don't have anything else. Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry. You can name these people, and I guarantee you that I could go run a slant better than both of them. They're not great talent there. So he's got the chance to get a bunch of passes. They're going to be behind a lot. You stacked it, which I like doing, even though I do it more in best ball, but I like doing it anyway. You did really good, man. Then Elijah Moore, you said, he has a tough strength of schedule, and he does start with Joe Flacco. So you're probably not starting him, but towards the end of the season, he could pop off for you. So he's got amazing talent.
And you're in a keepers league. That's a nice little keeper piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So I feel better. Yahoo put me down with the whole B- and finishing 8th. But you know what, Joe Morgan, you guys finished me off. I'm feeling happy, and Eric's smiling, so I think we're all good.
This being said, your floor could be scary. Your floor you might have some rough weeks, Bryan.
Here's the thing, though, when they're when people say that and they're like, "Oh, I play for," I'm not saying that you say it, but I hear it a lot. "Oh, I play for a very safe week. I'm gonna make you beat me," and that's not how I play fantasy. You got to go for broke. It's no good coming in third place. So what? You might get your money back that you put in. That's not what you're playing for. That's not what anybody plays for. So go for broke. You're going to have a couple weeks no matter what because nobody could tell what's going to happen by week 9. So you might as well go for broke, build that roster up, and then take the shot at it. Otherwise, you're just kind of sitting at the back end of everything like the Detroit Lions of fantasy football. And what fun is that?
All right, nice. Okay. So I think that was a good way to start off this little topic. So we're gonna turn over to you, Joe. I mean, for the Eagles, fantasy wise, who should be your main target? Who should be on your do not target list? To me, at least, it was Miles Sanders just because the injuries. But I mean, take the floor.
I mean, Jalen Hurts. We'll go with who I always try to aim for. If I could get Jalen Hurts at a reasonable price, I'm not telling anyone to do anything stupid, but if you can get him around his ADP. He has the shot to be your MVP this year, that Lamar Jackson from a couple years ago. And again, I know people are going to say, and I'm one of those people that does not love his deep ball, but it doesn't matter. He threw 16 touchdowns to 10 interceptions last year, and he was still a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. and he had nobody. He had Jalen Reagor as a top 2 wide receiver. Like, he now has Devonta Smith. He has A.J. Brown. He has Dallas Goedert. He has all this talent, and he could still run. Let's not forget that he hurt his ankle at the end of last year, which stopped him from running. His numbers could have been higher. And we have a pretty easy schedule, in my opinion. I think it's a very easy schedule, very QB-friendly schedule. So he's my favorite to go for. And then you brought up my least favorite to go for, which is Miles Sanders. The man is already dealing with an injury. I love Kenneth Gainwell and think he's a very great pick late. I think that we're going to do the same thing we did last year, and like we always do, we're going to use a bunch of backs anyway. But Miles Sanders is always injured. I'm usually the guy who loves the contract year, but I don't get that vibe from Miles Sanders. I don't get that vibe like I'm going out there, I'm going to go get my money. Like, I think he's just happy with being there and being good. He's still a very good player, but in an NFL's eyes, if you're not putting that effort in, a coach is going to pull you for somebody like a Gainwell who's going to push, somebody like a Boston Scott who probably shouldn't be in the league but just earns it every single time he goes out there. And that's a 3-headed monster that, even though we run a lot, is actually a 4-headed monster because Jalen Hurts runs. So I just don't like drafting him where he falls. You actually drafted my guy that's right around him, Chase Edmonds. If he doesn't hit this year, Chase Edmonds, I have to leave Twitter. That's how much I have been talking about him. So I always go that route, but I don't see it for Miles Sanders. I love the dude, like Penn State, love all that, but he doesn't have that vibe. Ever since he missed that first game in Washington 3-4 years ago because of an injury that came on late, and he didn't really want to play through it. Like, the vibe's just been wrong. So he's the one I'm going to skip out on. And then I'm going for Jalen Hurts mostly. And then I know the big question I get all the time in fantasy, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, who you going for? And I love A.J. Brown. Give me Devonta Smith. Ooh, wow. Because, I love A.J. Brown. He could take one ball that's a 7-yard, curl, run it all the way to the house. I get that. I totally get it. He is a behemoth of a man. Right. You have 1 year already with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith. You get Devonta Smith so many picks later. Right now, I don't even have the ADP in front of me. I think Devonta was 8th round in the draft I did today. AJ's like 3rd. So I could build my talent elsewhere and then stack it later if I want to, or just take a piece of the Eagles offense with Devonta later with him. And he's good. He runs routes like no other. He's got talent. We've seen what he could do. He's only going to get better. I don't see a regression there, especially when the best talent now has to go look at A.J. Brown. Right. And there's still Dallas Goedert that teams have to worry about. So it's going to be very hard to pull another guy over to either AJB or Smith. I'll always take, if guys are very close to me, give me the guy with the later average draft position every time. Because then I could build elsewhere and still get kind of what I wanted narrative-wise with the later guy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I really like that because I think, from a football perspective, you've seen A.J. Brown in an offense that didn't really do much to create for him, right? Like, They don't need to draw plays for him. He's going to get his own. And I think you bring in a guy like that, you're not changing that mentality. A.J. Brown's going to get his own, but who are you drawing up plays for? You got Devonta Smith against the CB2 probably all year with safety shaded the other side. I mean, he's probably one of, if not the best route runner in I can't say football right now. There's some really but
there's some really good ones. But he's up there.
But he's up there. He's up there, absolutely. And so you're just thinking about what he can do and what this offense does. And they're gonna get creative with him. They're gonna find routes, and then AJ Brown's gonna get his. And so I like that. Like, and Bryan already drafted, so
so he didn't draft him. He was a keeper. Like, I had him on the Titans, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I got AJ. Might as well stick with him. But thanks, Joe. Thanks.
He's still going to be good.
AJ Brown out the window.
He's still keeper is a whole different world because you got to keep people. So it's a whole different story. But I still like him. It's just I think they're both going to do well. So if they're both going to do well, give me the one with the later piece to it. And he's got I get it. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, they have a pass together. They're best friends. You give me that narrative all day because I know Cooper Kupp had lunch with or breakfast with
That's the narrative
Stafford.
I was using.
And nobody ever shuts up about it now. And it's like, cool, they're friends. And you imagine, and you act like the other ones aren't. But Devonta Smith has 2 years in this offense with Jalen Hurts. I like that. And now he doesn't have to face those cornerbacks. Like you said, he's going to get that cornerback too most of the time now. So I think he's going to be able to run routes on people like no other. And then A.J. Brown's still going to get his, and we're going to scheme him up not like Debo, but in a Debo-esque way where we give it to him short, we let him break that thing apart. I'm all for that. I think they're both going to do well, and I love Dallas Goedert too. We're going to pass more than we did at the end of the year. People want to keep throwing that, and it's just like, hey, guys, we had Jalen Reagor. I love Quez Watkins, but we had Quez Watkins. Like, we didn't really have a talented wide receiver core. We had a rookie Devonta Smith, a young Jalen Hurts, and then a bunch of guys who are a 3 or a 4 on most teams. Now we don't have that. We're going to pass again because that's what Nick wants to do. He came into the NFL, the Falcons game, all those first couple games, the Niners game, even though it was a tough battle.
Oh, those Jalen Hurts points in the first couple games were phenomenal.
Phenomenal because Nick Sirianni wants to throw the ball. Let's not forget that Nick comes from Frank. Frank comes from Doug Peterson. We kind of have an idea of where this offense wants to be. But he said, oh, man, we got a good running back core. We got a running quarterback. We got a great line. Let's just pound that ball last year. This year we have different talent. I think it gets back to 50-50 a bit more. And I could see that lining up well for pretty much everybody except for Miles Sanders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like you said, I really want to root for Miles Sanders, but
he just doesn't have the dog in him. And I wish I had that picture of the X-ray with the dog in the middle.
Like,
right. Yeah.
He doesn't have that dog. Yeah, like you see it in Jalen Hurts. You see it in A.J. Brown. Like you see them do things or talking or like how we like Chauncey, how he came in and we have that little reel of him like getting in people's faces. Yeah, I called him Chauncey and not Bob. I'm proud of myself. But like our players, like especially here, you have to have that. Look what happens to the ones that don't. The J.J. Arcega-Whitesides, the Jalen Reagors. Like you go down that list, the players who don't have that mentality, like it's us, we're the best. This is my field, my city. Get the hell out. Like you don't last long here.
Now, I mean, this might be switching gears a bit, but one of the rules that I've been told held true is you always want a piece of a good offense, right? And so guessing right on a good offense or an up and coming offense. You know, Bryan talked about Rashad Bateman. You know, it's a really good pick. He's number one. Who knows what the Baltimore offense is going to look like, right? So, and it could be good, right? And so I was wondering if you have any of those, you know, kind of, teams where you're like, okay, well, there's some good options here, and I think people they're kind of skating under the radar. For example, and you don't have to include it. One of my keepers this year was a late round keeper, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You never know how the lines are going to be, right? So, I'm curious, if you have any of those kind of sleepers.
Well, talking about Amon-Ra, like I love him now. I didn't start off as hot on him, but then you get Jameson Williams, and like he's going to be out for a while. And DJ Chark has talent, but you don't know what he's going to bring. But the solid consistency that the Sun God has in St. Brown. So I don't mind that pick. I always tell people you want that piece of the good offense, and my perfect example right now is James Cook and Kenneth Walker. Now he had the hernia when I started this whole thing. But I just saw the Kelsey comment. It just made me laugh. In that scenario, with both of them healthy, when Kenneth Walker's healthy, I want James Cook. I know they're going to put up more points than the Seattle Seahawks are going to put up. Buffalo Bills are automatically going to put up more points than the Seahawks. So I don't really have like specific players. Like I like a dude like KJ Osborne. Love KJ Osborne late. Like if you're going late picks, because like the Rams sent over, like they gave him up. Kevin O'Connell went to the Vikings. He's from the Rams. The Rams played the most 11 personnel in the NFL last year. They're going to bring that over here. Now they also have Adam Thielen, who's about 162 years old coming off an injury. And I think he's a great talent, but if he's hit that cliff, KJ Osborne has the ability to have snap percentage in a good offense and possibly take over the two. It's kind of like Gabe Davis at the end of season last year with Emmanuel Sanders. The whole thing is I just tell people build that narrative out. Like I am a sucker before this year for Tyler Lockett. Him and Russell Wilson had some weird unspeakable bond where they would run around like it was backyard football and you would throw it deep to Pablo Sanchez. And anybody who gets that reference on this is my best friend. But you throw it deep to Pablo Sanchez and it's a touchdown. And Tyler Lockett would always get that. But now he has either Geno Smith, who's starting now, or Drew Lock. And that just ain't going to happen on an offense that just isn't going to score points, on an offense that wants to establish the run game, even though they're not like a great team and they should try to put up some extra points. It's a very old school mentality. So like that's somebody you want to avoid. I'm a fan of like the only one that I jump off of all these narrative talks and everything is George Pickens. George Pickens has won me over in this preseason. And it's hard to say that because he's the third wide receiver with a team that has a strong tight end with a quarterback situation that nobody really likes at the moment. But that man just
you talk balls. About that dog. You talk about that dog like, oh my goodness.
He just balls. I got to tell you, because like when I saw him at the draft, and everybody knows the meme now where he's sitting there staring at the TV, I was like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? I was like he's got to be a good player, but he seems a little off. I'm like, are they doing Antonio Brown all over again? And this dude just has talent. He fights for balls. He fights for routes. He'll just knock corners over like I think he did to the Lions it was on a run play in the preseason. Just buried that guy for no reason whatsoever. And I love that. And my thing is, again, can he jump the next guy? Deontay Johnson just got his money. He's the one. Chase Claypool is the guy who – does he have that dog in him? He's a little bit of weird. He wants to point for first downs when there's 4 seconds left in a game. Like, George Pickens fits that Mike Tomlin mentality so well that if I get to that point in the draft and I'm like, oh, where do I go? I kind of like George Pickens. Yeah. And then the only other one, and it's going to hurt me to say this, I'm going to take a shower after I say this to 30. I like Jalen Tolbert. I think he's got some talent.
A lot of people really do.
I don't think he is the most talented guy in the world. I'm not going to pretend he's a superstar. We all know his draft capital, but they don't have anybody there right now. And Michael Gallup is out too. And CeeDee Lamb is great. And Dalton Schultz is a nice little safety valve for Dak. But somebody has to get those other targets so that they don't just triple team CeeDee. And again, late in that draft, you're just taking dart throws. Take that dart throw on a team that's going to put up points. We hate the Cowboys, but they're going to put up points, let's be honest. So take a guy like Jalen Tolbert and hope they're in the red zone more often than not, and hope that they're all triple covering CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz and all that, and your guy runs a drag route across the middle and gets the touchdown.
Okay, go ahead, Brian. No, I gotta figure out if I want to ask this question because we still got a draft and a draft together. So I don't want to,
I'm gonna get a DM later. I already know.
Yeah, most likely, Joe. Let me know if he hits you up, Joe. Just let me know on the side. So Eric actually has a question about the dynamic in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. I would think that Hunter Renfrow probably is a guy that gets a lot of volume and PPR leagues. That I don't know how early that you would want to draft him though. So what would you say? What would you say is your estimate? Probably around 6th round, 7th round, or a little bit later.
I got pencil. 1 sec.
I am a little bit later on him. Okay. Again, we all know Adams. We know he's the one. It's not him that makes me worry about it. Because we all know Hunter Renfrow can run routes like almost like a god. He's got great skills at that, so he's going to get open. It's Darren Waller, and you just have to keep eyes and tabs on him because he is an elite talent and an elite athletic tight end. And that matters in the NFL because if he's on the field, yes, he's going to get his share, his targets. But for me, that's actually better for Hunter Renfrow. Because now the defense has to change how they play. Safeties have to pay more attention over the middle. Linebackers have to pay more attention over the middle. That's right where Hunter Renfrow falls. He does the typical Wes Welker type route. He loves that thing. He's like, oh, here's these 2 guys in zone. I'm going to go right here, dead in the middle. That's his thing. But if Waller isn't there, that changes again. Now there's no elite tight end that makes scheming up a defense hard. And it really depends on Waller. 6 is a little early for me. 6 is because I could still get people I really like around 6. I haven't drafted him it's been a while. I have done, first off, 97 drafts. I counted today. So it's a problem, dude. I'm either going to be rich or like, I'm going to have an OnlyFans real quick. Like, but no, I'm more like, bring me towards the 8th and 9th. I'll think about it, but I usually end up elsewhere. I don't hate him. It's just, is Waller going to help change the defensive schemes to open it up for Hunter? Because that's my narrative around it. And then I actually am a fan of Josh Jacobs around that 5th, 6th, because I do think contract year, 3 good targets to aim at with Waller, Renfrow, Adams. That box opens up a bit. And they didn't take his contract, so you might as well beat him into the ground. Bill Belichick beats his running backs into the ground and then chucks them. His coach right now is Josh McDaniels, who comes from Bill Belichick. So it's in the scheme, the thought, the process, and I might be the only one on the Josh Jacobs train anymore. But he's still young, and he almost caught 50 balls last year. He's got talent. So I'm around there with him at the beginning of that running back dead zone. And then Renfrow's probably towards that back end, like the 8, 9 of it. Because I like guys that are going to get more touchdown opportunities. And if Adams and Waller are there, he's not going to have as many touchdown opportunities, even though he's very good at running routes. It's just not how the play is going to break down for me.
I just like that image of Josh McDaniels comes from Bill Belichick. He's just spawning out of his brain. He just essentially that's what it is, man.
Well, to be fair, if you think about it, there is no way Bill Belichick has ever really truly hooked up with a person. I am in the field of that. He just like morphs apart and makes a second one and made that weird looking son of his. Like that's how it happened.
Yeah, yeah. Just at some point, he's just some weird Jabba the Hutt looking character.
Yeah.
So do we feel like Matt Patricia's the ugly son, or is it Josh McDaniels?
Josh McDaniels somehow caught genes of somebody else. He doesn't look terrible. Matt Patricia, I watched him coach I watched him coach the Lions though, so he's missing a little bit up there. I don't know what he was doing.
A lot up there.
And he's the offense. Him and the guy who ran the QB sneak, whose name I'm missing right now for the Giants last year. They're gonna work together on the offensive coordinator. Joe Judge and Matt Patricia are gonna work the offense for the Patriots. That's an offense minus Jacoby Myers I have just not really touched.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anyone wants to touch that offense.
Yeah. Those two are running it. I like Mac Jones, but he's not great. Jacoby Myers is nice, but, otherwise I don't need anything. These comments are great. I've been loving these comments the whole time.
So for this season, no, you're not allowed to ask questions because apparently you're applying over there.
No. I figured I would ask my question, but I'll wait. I'll go next.
All right. Who's your biggest sleepers for the fantasy this year? Like who give me your top 5 guys who can make a big difference in whether you win or whether you lose.
All right. Well, again, this all matters by ADP and where you get them. Mm-hmm. I do think DeAndre Swift, higher ADP for a second round, depending where you get him, has the ability to end up in the conversation next year of top 5 picks. I think he's put on a little bit of weight. I actually know his dad, and if his dad's watching this, because we're both in the fitness industry, please don't kick my ass. He's a scary dude. But DeAndre Swift is one of them that I think could be the game changer early on in those first couple of rounds for people. And then on the wide receiver side, again, early on, Michael Pittman. Love that guy.
I missed out on him.
The Colts wide receiver core minus like Alex Pierce, I don't really like. Paris Campbell has skill, but he's always injured. Tight ends are all right, but not great. Frank Wright wants to throw the ball a little bit more because you saw how basically pissed off he was when he couldn't with Carson. And now he has Matt Ryan. If Michael Pittman could put up those numbers with Carson Wentz, imagine what he's going to put up with Matt Ryan in a division where he gets the Texans twice and the Jaguars twice and the Titans terrible cornerbacks twice.
There's that stat too where Matt Ryan, his number 1 target has been top 5 in fantasy, something like that. I remember.
He also did have Julio Jones.
Yeah, and Calvin Ridley. He has talented players. I love. You had Chase Edmonds. That's been, like I said, that's been my guy. I'm gonna have to leave the internet if he doesn't do good because I have not shut up about Chase Edmonds every day. The guy could basically come out, take a sip of water in practice, and I'll put 6 quote tweets up about him. It's really bad. It's getting to a point. It's getting to a point where it's definitely annoying for people. But another one is an Eagle. I like Kenneth Gainwell because I don't like Miles Sanders. And we are a good running team with a good line. And the box, just like the Josh Jacobs conversation, the box is going to be empty. They're not going to be able to stack that box on us like they were able to last year, like how the Buccaneers did in the playoffs on us. And here's the thing, Gainwell, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. Last I looked, he was like an 11th, 12th round pick.
Right.
If he doesn't work, you just cut him and get somebody else on your fantasy team. It doesn't hurt you. I like to load up with one nice running back, a bunch of studs in my pass like options and tight ends, depending on who it is, tight ends, wide receivers. And then from Chase Edmonds for the next 4 rounds, so basically the 7th, 8th round on, I just hammer home running backs, and I just hammer home people that I think could take over the backfield or who have the backfield, like Chase Edmonds. I don't jump ahead and get somebody like Isaiah Pacheco in like the 10th, like some people are doing. Damian Pierce is a nice little pick towards the end of that now because they're cutting people there, like Marlon Mack, and he's been showing talent. So that's my style, is I'll take those shots on those running backs late. And then I always do it with the Niners. I always take somebody who's not the starter, and it's Tyrion Davis-Price is my guy I've just been going at. I don't think it's Sermon because they wouldn't go back out and draft somebody with the same capital, basically. And they brought him in, and I got to be honest, there's not really analysis here because there's like 17 running backs, and Kyle Shanahan could like hate that you ate the last fry and then you no longer play. So I just don't want to waste my time on Eli Mitchell's ADP, but I want something from that backfield, so I'll take something late and hope it hits.
Mm-hmm. All right, I figured out a way to ask my question. So, I mean, one of the things that always kind of that I honestly am guilty of as well is over targeting rookies, right? They get all the hype, and then you get in the offense. And this year, there's a lot of we're used to kind of having that like. There's a couple good ones, but this was a very deep class of receivers going to a lot of favorable positions. You talked about George Pickens. You talked about Alec Pierce. We've talked about Jameson Williams. We talked about Garrett Wilson. We talked about there's so many, right? So my question to you is how many rookies is too many rookies? And 2, are there any rookies that you
can't draft Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean, right? Like, it's not feasible. Like,
well, you can if you go.
You can in the defensive league.
You can in the defensive league, but in our league, that's not happening. You know that.
No, you can't. But go ahead.
So I'm going to flip that around. I'm going to give you the guys that I like that we haven't talked about yet.
Sure.
And for me, we'll start with Chris Olave because again, exceptional route runner. With a guy like Michael Thomas who hasn't played in like basically since COVID happened,
right?
And is already dealing with some hammy issues and stuff like that. So it's possible that when I'm looking at like rookies later on like that, again, I'm just trying to build that narrative. Is there a path for him to become the one? That's like one of my favorite storylines, and Olave has that path. So I really, really like Olave. And then later on, a Penn State guy, I like Jahan Dotson. One, because his ADP is so far down that if he does nothing, who cares? You cut him. He's like the 15th round right now. But I love him because they start off with, I think it's like the Jaguars, then they have the Lions, then they have the us, which is we're a tough one.
Yeah.
And then I think they have the Titans, I think is week 4. 3 of those 4 are top 10 teams that allowed fantasy points to wide receivers. Top 10 most to wide receivers. 3 of the 4. So again, I'm playing it in quarters. I'm trying to do things, and I kind of treat fantasy like a stock. I'm going to get that stock. I'm going to get it till it reaches the peak, and I'm going to try to sell it off before it drops again. And if it doesn't drop, you keep it forever. Like you don't run away from somebody like James Robinson, obviously, like a couple of years ago. For however many rookies you have, that's tough. This year, that's a hard one because like I like Pickens. Tough situation. Treylon Burks apparently isn't even starting, so that's a tough situation. I like Olave, I like Dotson, I like Tolbert. It's tough. Drake London is kind of in the middle for me.
Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce is a nice one because he's real late. You can get him super late. My thing is if you have a lot of them, but they're all late picks, let's just say 13th round on. I'm just going to use an arbitrary number. I'm fine with that. You have like 4 or 5 of them. Because you don't need them all to pop right away for you then. You can wait a little bit if you want to, or drop somebody that you realize doesn't really have a high snap percentage or anything like that. My only thing is just don't drop them after 1 week. because there are people out there that had Justin Jefferson, dropped them after 1 week, and lost fantasy because of it. And I'm going to say that as the one guy who I think was just a little upset that the Eagles didn't get him and was like, oh, he's behind the C. Johnson or whatever that guy's name was. He's not going to be good. And I looked stupid all year. Take it as a case. Don't be me. Like, hold it for a couple of weeks. Realize, like, check the snap percentage, check the, target shares, check a little deeper than, like, did he catch 6 balls for 100 yards?
Right.
And then make your decision. There's not really a number this year. I'm a little more hesitant with rookies. Next year, the 23 class, load me up. Load me up with that class.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a keepers league too, there's a couple of good receivers you can just stash.
And that's what you do. You get them late, and then hopefully you can hold on to them for like a 13th or something. And in a keeper, I'm a little more, welcoming to getting a bunch of rookies because you can get them later on. And just a regular redraft, though, I usually like the proven talent in like those middle rounds over the rookie, minus a few exceptions. Like we said, Olave is one of them.
Jamar Chase last year.
Yeah. Like there's certain ones that you just have to know, even though there wasn't a stripe on the football and people were freaking out.
I loved those rumors. I got him in the fucking 6th round, and
that's
I'm
great.
Him again this year, so I love that shit. We should start spreading rumors about all if you have a platform, start spreading rumors about Chris Olave for us. Because
listen, I could do that. I'll start spreading some rumors. My only concern, and I feel like it would just be my luck, is that they're gonna like slide in my DMs and try to fight me. Yeah, and these are some big dudes. Like I can handle myself, but like these are like world-class athletes. I'm not stupid, They like, and Philly's a small place, and like people are nuts. So if I said anything about a Philly person, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Joe, he lives right there," and then I have like AJ Brown outside my door because I said to go get Devonta Smith.
They'll just talk to Swoop. He's probably got your address, right? So
he probably does. Honestly, I don't know because he came when I did that TV show. They brought him on. So I had to like talk with him more there, and it freaked me out in that case actually because he actually talked to me, and for some reason my brain wasn't ready for the human inside the mascot. Right. He's like, so all you hear is like, "What's up, Joe?" And I'm like, what the hell is that? Like in my brain, it was like, "Oh, here's a 6-foot pigeon." He's like, I don't know. But it was a weird day, man. It was a weird day. It was a real weird day, man. That's.
I mean, in a way, you're kind of like its father,
That's what I said.
Oh, that kind of blew my mind right now.
I'm his dad.
It's true, though.
Yeah, I'm his dad. That's what I tell people all the time. And then they're like, ha, ha, ha. That's funny. I'm like, no, I created the motherfucker. Like, I'm his dad. Like,
you see another mascot with just stiff arms swooping. I know Joe comes from the stands to defend.
Hands down. You ever, in the first Ace Ventura when Jim Carrey starts beating up the Eagles mascot, like I would have to jump in. Yeah, like I would just have to. That's my son. Like you can't.
That's my child.
Yeah, no way, man. I'm coming in like WWE dropkick style. It's gonna look good, man. If I'm gonna hit somebody like that, I'm coming in hard. Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin Music style.
Oh god. Well, hopefully that doesn't have to happen this year. But hopefully we do get some Sweet Chin music at the link where the Eagles actually end up, accomplishing something really good for us to enjoy this season. We're at the hour mark, and Joe, first and foremost, really want to thank you for coming on and really just giving us all the knowledge, giving Morgan as much of an advantage that he can have. Apparently, I don't know how Canadian time works, or if you draft in advance over us, but if that's the thing, then
it's real time, man. I don't get like an hour before you.
I feel like it's a time. You're making a time loop over there.
I could be in Australia and still be drafting the same time as you. I don't get like 8 hours. Yeah,
I'm glad to help, but if Morgan wins the league, he just has to share some of that free health insurance they have.
If Morgan wins the league, we need to expose his DMs first and foremost. I need to know how much communication you had with Joe every week.
Bryan, I came second last year. Like it's not a huge jump. It's one game.
Dude, how do you remember the standings? I don't even remember like who.
Because I came second. Year. That's why you came 7th. Yeah. You're like, get the shit out of my brain, right? Like you came almost last year. Like I don't want to remember. Yeah,
you remember paying attention. Well, just for that, I'm going to pay attention this year.
Well, everybody could be in my DMs, and I'll help you all fight against each other. You're all going to tie every week. We're going to have ties every week. I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll just get an invoice. We'll get an invoice at the end of the week.
Oh, my God. You know how much money I would make? I should start doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta think about that. We might have to talk about a business opportunity.
Sounds good.
The first DM.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe.
I'm coming for those playoffs too, and I'm taking Greg Ward with me.
All right. I love it.
So, okay, have we settled it? I don't know if Zach is still in the chat because he's on vacation today. But have we settled it? Like, is Greg Ward on the roster? Can we clarify that?
He said 53 man. So
he said 53 man. So I guess, he has an injury and he's not really off the team. It takes Port completely off my table. So
are we at the point where we start the season with 10 men on the field just to honor, Greg Ward? I think we might be.
I think that's perfect. As long as Nick Sirianni knows that I really want that, then I think he'll
yeah.
Everybody wearing
I will talk to my son to talk to Nick, and we'll get this ball rolling.
There we go.
Yeah, I know.
Joe's gonna swoop in.
I like it.
Pork's back on the table, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I can't be happier.
But yeah, Joe, if you can just tell everybody out there that where to find your stuff, where to follow you, everything of that sort.
So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, any social media you can think of, it is JPEP20. My articles are on Fantasy Pros. I have a show once a week with Triple Play Fantasy called the Tripwire Podcast. And if you just hit the @ symbol and then write the Tripwire Podcast, it'll pop up. That's every Monday. And then I'm going to be doing spaces every Wednesday with Wager Wire and a DF show with Triple Play every Wednesday for DFS as well. So Triple Play, Fantasy Pros, that's where you find me, JPEP20 anywhere. And if you want to find me elsewhere, just type in Joe Pepe Philadelphia. I'm sure it'll pop up. I don't know what's there, but
Scoop's father has rejoined the community.
Me with a Darth Vader mask.
Oh God! All right, guys. Well, catch us next week. Season's coming back within 2 weeks now. September 11th is happening.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely give you guys our full breakdown of what we expect from the Eagles next week. And until then, I'm Bryan Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett, Eric Reese, Joe Pepe, and Flippin' the Birds.
Man. Go Birds.
Yes, sir.